Oh, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Mental Health. I'm your host, Brandon, and our guest today is Karen Wilson. Tell us about yourself, okay?
Hi, Brandon. I am Karen Wilson, and I'm your mom.
Yeah, fair way to break it. I guess, I don't know.
Full disclosure. And I'm a marketing consultant. So in my work that I do, I help businesses get clarity on what they want to say about their business and their products and services, and then build a plan to promote it effectively so they can grow. In my
Okay.
spare time, I hang out with you and your daddy.
Yeah. Wait a second, I need to wait for a sec. Yep. How do you think quarantine has affected my mental health?
I think it's been tough. You have good days and you have days that are a little bit more rough. I know that for you, you're really concerned about spreading or contracting COVID and then infecting other people. And so that's been a real worry for you. And
Yeah.
we're doing what we can to make sure that you don't, that none of us get sick. Um, but yeah, the mental health aspect of this is challenging because you're limited as to how you can interact with your friends and even family. And so your world that was so much bigger a while ago has gotten a lot smaller, and that's hard for everyone.
Yeah. Are we going to move on to the next question? Brandon?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm ready. Don't worry. So what are some challenges that you've been facing during quarantine?
Well, because you've been home, it's a bit different. I'm used to working from home. I've been working, as you know, I've been working from home for about a little over a year and a half. So that's not new, but it's been challenging to have you around for so long. um, and you know, and balancing the parenting aspects of what needs to be done and meeting your needs on an emotional and mental health level, and making sure that you stay occupied.
It's certainly
Go ahead.
it's difficult.
Yeah, well, you've done a good job of keeping yourself entertained. I think that it's been easier on our family than it is for a lot of other families. Um, but, you know, day to day, it can be very different.
That is true. I do believe that is true. Do you think there are mental health issues related to parenting? Either way, like to the parent or the child.
Oh, for sure. I have, you know, you have autism. And before we got a diagnosis of your autism, I really struggled because you were struggling and I didn't know how to help you. And so
Yeah.
it was those were hard times, and getting your diagnosis and getting in to see the right therapist made such a huge difference for you. And that sort of helped me to improve my mental health because our circumstances got better.
Yeah, the thing, like, one of the issues I've had was with the son because I was having like, this is a bit personal to me. So I was having a meltdown and you didn't even know what caused it. until one of your friends, I think it was, said it might have been about autism.
Well, you have sensory processing disorder. So there's certain sensory experiences that are hard for you to manage because of the way that your brain works. And so sunlight, when you've gotten a lot better over the years, it's become less of an issue. But when you were about 4 years old, your second day of junior kindergarten, you were inconsolable, and it was this beautiful, bright, sunny day, and your principal was on the ground holding you and trying to help you feel better. And so I had to go and pick you up from school, and you missed your second day of school. Just because they couldn't get you to go inside. And so it was things like that would happen, that I didn't know why it was happening. And it was the woman who was leading the daycare that was in the school actually was the one that clued me in. I think it's the sun. And it made sense because you'd had one other incident like that, and it was a really bright sunny day, and you were out on a playground and became inconsolable. And I think your brain, the way it works, just had a hard time with that bright light. And so I went, I didn't even go home after I picked you up. I went to Walmart and got you all sorts of sunglasses.
Yeah.
I never had the issue again.
And also one more question. How do you think it could relate to the child's mental health?
I think that's a really good question, Bud. I think that as parents, when children are behaving in certain ways, it's extremely important to look for the why, because just behaviors are not necessarily an indication that a child is defiant or oppositional in any way. It can be an indication that something's wrong that they cannot articulate.
Yes, exactly.
And so, and I had this fabulous advice from a speech pathologist. Her name is Sheila Bell, and I did an article about her in a local magazine a number of years ago. And she was the first person who indicated to me that, look for the why. Because if you can figure out the why and address the problem, it actually fixes the behavior.
Yes,
so,
exactly. If I was to be
I think
honest,
that helps the mental health of a child too.
Yeah, true. And the parents. And speaking of mental health, how can work affect your mental health? I mean, you don't have to go with specific stories or anything. Just speak in general terms.
Mental health as it relates to work is can be challenging because there are workplaces that are really supportive of employees, and there are workplaces that aren't quite as supportive. And I've been in both. So one of the reasons I'm happy to be an independent consultant now is because I don't have to worry about going and finding that next place and whether it's going to be good for me or bad for me. But not everybody has that luxury. I think that there's more and more talk about the impact of workplaces on mental health, and hopefully people are going to, employers, management, are going to take it to heart and be more cognizant of how their actions affect employees. Because in the end, employees who have good mental health are more productive workers.
yes, exactly. And I feel like that's why a lot of, like, honestly, it just feels like there's no reason not to support your employees' mental health.
No, agreed. Totally agreed.
Since it's like, if you do support it, there's there'll be a lot more productive for you because one, they can appreciate it, and two, they're not having as many issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't support it, they can just sort of quit, you know?
Well, sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. Sometimes you can't just quit a job without having another job in place, and that's where it gets challenging for workers. They really have to. You have to do a lot of work, save money, or do your research before you take a job, and even then, there's no guarantees. You have to be. It's not easy for workers to find that ideal workplace. I think it makes employment laws that much more important.
All right, do we have another question for your mom?
Okay, so how do you take care of issues of yourself to prevent mental health issues? Any advice for other parents?
I do a few things. I pay attention to what my body is telling me. If I feel like I'm getting anxious around something, I'll do more meditation. Recently, I've been limiting how much I pay attention to the news in the world because that can be stressful and anxiety inducing. I think it's important to be informed, but you have to do that responsibly and practice self-care first and foremost. And I try to make sure I get plenty of sleep. I think sleep is so key, and in this world where there's so much information and potential for interaction 24/7, it's easy to get distracted from getting adequate rest, and so your body can rejuvenate. So I try to make sure I get plenty of sleep. It's a little bit hard though. I don't sleep well.
Exactly. That's kind of the difficult thing about work, because that just, like, you just don't get sleep a lot of the time.
Well, as you know, because I sort of relaunched my consulting, I've been very busy getting things up and running. And so when I get focused on my work, I'm very, a little bit hyper focused. So I tend to work too many hours, right?
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I feel like that's the issue, to be quite
Yeah.
honest with you.
I think that it's not affecting me yet, but it's something to watch for. And I have to be careful of how it's affecting you.
Yep. Goodness, I'm getting a bit tired right now. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Goodness gracious. Did you enjoy being on the podcast today?
I did. You did a good job, bud.
Thank you.
Awesome.